Okay, so we're all in customer services now, and talking to an audience from support services, I guess that's something that you are all passionate about. But just to give you a bit of background, my name's Carolyn Blunt. I have been working in IT support for Fujitsu Services as an in-house trainer, and I come from a family of salespeople. So my brother sells cars, for goodness sake, my mum sells holidays, and my dad sells lockers and storage equipment. So we have had the last 30 years of debating what is more important, creating customers or keeping them. And I was outnumbered 3-1 with my idea that it is more important to keep a customer than to purely spend time creating them. And as salespeople, they didn't agree. So I have been ostracised, I guess, for working in call centres and working in tech support and being focused on that side of things, which is very different to everybody else in my family. And for the past 10 years, I've been running a company called Real Results, and we work with universities, councils, private sector organisations to train their staff in customer service. So just last week, we were working with a group of library staff in a big university, helping them to understand that the way in which they have conversations with students and academics is really important to shaping customer experience. And that's a bit of a mindset shift for people who joined that job thinking that, you know, they could be good at detail and clearing books from trolleys to shelves and getting them in the right order, and not actually wanting to have eyeball conversations with people. And that's not to stereotype, but genuinely some people in those roles, they're good at detail and they're not extroverted. They don't want to have those conversations if they can help it. It's hard work for them. So we come along to help them develop those skills. So as well as all of that stuff, last year I did publish a book around delivering effective social customer service because the world has changed. So thanks to Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey, we now have Facebook, we have Twitter, and the world will never be the same again. And I'm passionate about how that impacts customer service. And I'd be interested to hear your thoughts over the next 40 minutes about how you see that shaping the services that you and your teams provide. So this is us working with the University of Central Lancashire, that background picture, but we work with lots of different organisations. There are 12 of us across the UK. So what I'm going to talk to you about is from research that we've gathered working with lots of different organisations, as well as stuff that was put into the book that I did. So we are now thinking about the world changing, and I've got a question for you. Where were you when it all changed? So a quick conversation with the person sitting next to you. When was your first tweet? When was your first post? Where were you when the world shifted? 2004, 5, 6, 7. When did you jump on the bandwagon? You never forget your first tweet.
1, 1, 2. One, one.
Okay. Who can remember their first tweet? Who's not on Twitter? Oh, okay. Please, please promise me that by the end of this conference, you will have registered yourself on Twitter. Oh, just if it's to laugh at Robin Thicke, you know, it's got to be done. I don't know if anyone saw that last night, but that was a good one. Okay, so Kath has a microphone. If anyone is willing to tell us their first initial experiences of where they were when the game changed, please put your hand up and we will come and find out.
This conference 2 years ago, sitting just over there.
Fantastic. See, this is a great catalyst for boosting us into the digital age.
For me, it's about 4 years ago when I downloaded Flipboard on an iPad and suddenly got the point of Twitter.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a minute just to kind of think, well, what is the point of Twitter? 140 characters, how useful or not is that? But yeah, it's good. Any more? No mentions of Facebook? Oh, yeah, right.
So I'm Tony from the University of Oxford, and my job is to kind of coordinate the IT staff who are not in the central IT service. So Facebook is a very good community building tool and kind of ear to the ground tool for those distributed IT staff. And I was looking back, it looks like I was teaching people how to use it about 5 years ago, so fairly early.
Yeah, excellent. Great stuff, thank you. And it is about how we use these technologies to help us in the world of customer service. And because my family are salespeople, they were all excited about how they used Facebook and Twitter to sell. And that was probably one of the first big kind of usages of those media, was from PR and marketing departments. And they thought, this is cool. We can talk at our customers with whatever we want, and we can share competitions, we can create likes, you know, all that great stuff. But of course, what happened was that people started to talk back. That was a bit annoying for PR and marketing people, apparently. And so they started collecting the tweets and the posts and sending them to the customer service departments, the internal support teams, and saying, answer that question. Tell me what you want to say. And then they would send that back via email, and the PR and marketing department would want to control and check that that was in the brand voice, and then post it, making sure that there was no spelling or grammar mistakes, because those customer service minions, they might not get that right. And then, of course, that whole thing started to gain momentum, because once people saw that they could get their questions answered on Facebook and Twitter, that was good. So more and more people started to do it. And so now we've seen an explosion of social customer service, but lots of organisations are still going, the PR and marketing don't want to give the keys to customer service, because that's a loss of control. And we have seen lots of brands get things really badly wrong on very public platforms. So it creates this kind of fear factor. And then we still have lots of senior managers, directors who aren't on Twitter themselves, don't get it, don't want the thought of dirty laundry out there in public, and are just putting their head in the sand and hoping the whole thing will go away. So the game has changed massively. And we do need to think about, how do we support our staff to be able to use this, and how do we change their mindsets, whether it's through social media engagement with customers, or whether it's just face-to-face in a library when somebody asks for help. So the world is changing. In the 21st century, we have seen the game change forever. And really fortunately, as I was doing my book, I was able to interview loads of great businesses, people who've been instrumental in shaping how this is working going forward. And of course, thinking about higher education, you know yourselves that we are seeing a massive evolution right now. The student and parent customer power that is now so important in deciding where their fee money is going to go has changed the game. Also, thinking about how our young people do make decisions, if we look at Generation X through to Generation Y, it's different. So in the old days, we used to say, you have a bad experience, you tell 3 or 4 people, yeah? But now you can add an extra 0 or 2 on the end of that, because I don't know if you've got any 18-year-olds in your family, but the ones, my nieces and nephews, if I tweet them, that's fine. If I ring them, they text me and go, what do you want? So that is absolutely how young people are communicating now. They are doing it through mass communication. There's all sorts of images that you can just see as you're walking across campus where they're not having a conversation with each other, they're all at their phones. Yeah? So we're all in customer service now. The debate rages on around the Sunday dinner table with my family that actually creating customers is no longer enough. The biggest metric we're now using in customer service is Net Promoter Score, NPS. Some of you may be familiar with that. And NPS works on the basis of how likely are you to recommend this organisation to your friends and family. And that's the biggest used metric right now in looking at how effective we are with customer service. In fact, we're not even really calling it customer service anymore. We're calling it customer experience, because it is much more holistic than the pure transactions of old, because we want people to talk about it, we want people to tweet it, and that's how we intend to create customers and to keep them going forward. So it's power to the people, and lots of organisations, senior managers, directors that I work with dislike it when I say that, because obviously it makes life difficult. When it was very much kind of flat media where they could just, send out flyers, put people through IVRs, they couldn't talk back. No one can hear you scream in an IVR. But now they can respond. They can tweet, they can post, they can reply to you, and everyone can see it. So power to the people. And the person that we kind of hold responsible for making that mindset shift is Dave Carroll. I don't know if any of you are aware of Dave Carroll, country and western singer from Nebraska. Yeah. So 2009, Dave Carroll was flying from Canada to Chicago via United Airlines. Has anyone seen the video? Give me a show of hands. Okay, so a good 10, 12 of you have seen the video. The rest of you, I absolutely recommend you go to YouTube and you just watch this video. It's only a few minutes long. It, is good fun to watch, and it's called United Breaks Guitars. So I got to interview Dave for my book, and I said to him, tell me from your true side of it, the story, because lots of people like me retell Dave's story, and I wanted the real facts. And basically when he flew from Nebraska to Chicago, United Airlines baggage handlers broke his Taylor guitar. His $3,500 precious Taylor guitar. And they snapped the top of the guitar and incurred about $1,200 worth of damage to that Taylor guitar. And he then said, look, you broke my guitar, I want compensation. And this kind of went on for months, trying to find the right person. No, you didn't report it in Chicago because he didn't open the case in until he got to his gig. There was all sorts of kind of excuses, issues, blockers as to why they wouldn't give him the $1,200 he was seeking to repair his guitar. So he decided, being a singer, to make a music video and posted it on YouTube. It cost him $150, and the goodwill of a few friends and his bandmates to make this video, and it went viral. And between 2009 and 2011, it had over 150 million hits on YouTube. It wiped 10% of the value off United Airlines stock and cost them $180 million for $1,200 compensation. And when everyone kind of started to catch on to this, it was just mind-blowing. Power to the people. And increasingly, lots of people say to me, yeah, but, you know, I'm not Dave Carroll, I can't do a music video. No, but if you create a hashtag that's memorable, that's maybe a bit funny, you have the opportunity to create power into your customer service message. We've seen it happen time and time again with big brands ever since this happened. And I'll talk a bit more about some of those as we go through, but definitely thinking, what are your students saying about you? Another organisation that I got to interview found a Facebook hate group about their brand. So squirreled away on Facebook was "I hate modern housing solutions." And in that Facebook hate group, people posted about how rubbish they thought modern housing were. They said, you know, the engineer didn't turn up, they were really rude, nobody's listening to me, the service is rubbish. And again, it's how do you deal with that? Are you listening? Do you find it? Do you know about it? And then how do you deal with it when you do find it? And they had to deal with that by saying, okay, this isn't great. Let's set up a corporate Facebook page, and let's go to the kind of unofficial one and say, look guys, we found your page, recognise you need Facebook support, we can't reply to you on here, but come over here and we'll deal with it. And that's precisely what they've done. And when you go to their Facebook support page now, which is Modern Housing Solutions, you can go on Facebook, you can like it, you look at the page and it all looks pretty grim still. But when you put it in context, they get about 12 to 15 negative posts a day. But they're supporting hundreds and hundreds of customers every single day. So it's that mindset shift sometimes that we have to make, especially at senior levels, to say we need freedom. And our frontline staff need freedom to be able to respond to customers in a human way. And I think sometimes people either don't have the skill and it's not naturally in their makeup, and that's something they can definitely learn if we train them. And then other people want to do it, but think computer says no. And it's the processes and the fear of getting something wrong that's frightening them. And that's what's stopping them giving great customer service. I got to interview Virgin Media for my book as well, and they have some good stories and bad stories to tell. But in one of the good stories, the customer had rung up and said, you know, really angry with you, my cable TV's gone down, my 3-year-old can't watch Peppa Pig, it's the only 30 minutes of peace and quiet I get all week, I hate you. My daughter hates you, you're rubbish, sort it out. So they said, absolutely, really sorry about that. We hold our hands up, that's not good. We're sending an engineer round, he'll be there tomorrow, and you'll be back up and running in time for next week's episode. So that was all fine, and the engineer turned up on time, and that is about as good as most customer experiences get. But he had a little something behind his back. And as he came in the house, he said, this is for your daughter. And it was a little cuddly Peppa Pig toy. It cost $6.99 for that Peppa Pig toy. But it was tweeted about, it was talked about, and it went viral as a story. I'm talking to you about it now. $6.99. But it's not just the $6.99, it's the empowerment of the person at the front line who had the idea, who said, okay, they've specifically mentioned Peppa Pig. That's important to them. What could I possibly do that would show we recognise Peppa Pig's importance in their life? They had the idea, but it didn't stop there. They were able to say, how about we do this? And somebody else was able to go, yep, let's do that. And let's get a physical toy to the engineer that's going out. And that service chain, that piece of connection between the front line, the field guys, that's so important. And it's all right having a front line who take calls and speak nicely to customers and, you know, stay patient and empathetic and all those great soft skills. But if the engineer rocks up or doesn't rock up or rocks up with a bad attitude, then the whole thing starts to fall apart. Which is why we're all, every single touch point of that chain, involved in customer experience now. So thinking back to higher education, there are obviously lots of forums out there where students are talking, not just on Facebook, but communities. Communities are the next most powerful thing after Facebook and Twitter. Places where people go to hang out, to talk about their experiences, to give recommendations, or to slate brands and experiences. Is anyone using TripAdvisor? Just give me a hand, show of hands. Wow, that's to date the most consensus I've had from a room. I think there's probably like 90, upwards of 90% of the hands went up then. And this is what we're seeing. Anyone looked to buy product on Amazon and been more interested in the 5-star, 4-star, 3-star reviews? Yeah, than what the brand says. Because of course the brand would say that. It's your product, right? Your open days, of course you're going to say that. It's your university, right? But the most powerful piece of feedback that we can harness is the opinions of others. What are others saying? We believe that far more than what the brands say, what the universities say, even what the parents say. Of course you're going to want me to go and do that. That's what you want to do, and I'm living vicariously through you. Yeah? I want to do what I want to do, and what my mates are telling me is a good thing to do. So the game is changing. So what are people saying about their university experiences online? Anyone from Hull? This is where you all start kind of going, oh! Hull University has free Wi-Fi that covers the entire campus. I need to go there. Turns out Manchester University Library. Anyone from Manchester? Okay. Liverpool? Okay. Turns out Manchester University Library is just as bad as Liverpool for staff talking in silent sections. One of the biggest gripes. So what are people saying about your university online? Do you know? Are you searching it? Are you listening to it? Love when university staff are completely unhelpful and reply back to you with a sarcastic tone. That solves nothing. A 91-year-old man is let off with a Liverpool Uni library fine of $4,500 after returning a book 61 years late. Yeah, great PR. And that's the thing. This stuff is free. It's free marketing, free PR. If you work out what it costs you to get a student to start on a program, it's probably hundreds or thousands per head in the investment that you've made attracting them and selling to them through open days, drip feeding talks into further ed colleges, hooking them in like some kind of Griffin saver in the 80s with an early piggy bank at some kind of science fair for primary school kids. I don't know what you do. But all of that activity has a cost to it, and this is free. So when people are saying that, I want to come to Hull because you've got free Wi-Fi, Hull University need to be all over that, retweeting that, saying absolutely, and we've also got X, Y, and Z as well. Currently aware of issues accessing My Exeter? Anyone travelled that far? Woo! Are you aware of this stuff? Are you in this team? Yeah? It's good stuff. You can relax. So while we fix this, you can get email here. So this is from their, is this you? Are you the, it's your team, fantastic. They're behind the tweets. So they're doing their comms. Are you doing your IT support comms like Exeter? Because again, if that's where your hungry crowd is hanging out on Twitter, then this is a great way to do it. And another one back to them, found my lost essay in the depths of the system during the early hours before deadline. Very grateful for the 24-hour support. Hashtag lifesavers. Could you stand up for me, please? Sir? Stand up for me? Yeah. Give him a round of applause. I didn't know he was coming. Right, mystery shoppers. Who uses mystery shoppers in their universities? Wonderful. So this is just some examples of what we're finding when we're doing mystery shopper work. It's not just the transaction success that matters. So if I go to your library and I want a book and you haven't got it, the transaction was not successful. Okay, that's not a great customer experience. But I will still rate that transaction favourably if I'm dealt with warmly and positively. Does that make sense to you? Can you feel that as customers yourselves? If people are just nice, isn't the world a much better place? People who say sorry, give you alternatives, say here's the place to go, take your details. That's what we want. It's not difficult. Why does not everybody do that? It's not my job. Computer says no. Where's the effort? Where's the energy? Because complete transactions, even when I get the book or I get the prospectus, I get the course information or whatever it is I'm asking for, it's rated less favourably if I'm dealt with dismissively. There you go, leave me alone now. Are our people passionate about customer experience? Or are customers, students, a pain in the bottom? Because if they're feeling like I'm trying to upload these grades onto this system and you keep appearing at the window asking me silly questions and I might get the emails wrong if I don't do this right, that frustration creeps through in their body language, their voice, and it just creates a feeling of negativity. And then the student goes to Twitter and goes, that was just so rude. And of course then other students read that. Parents read that. I felt like a nuisance. I was interrupting them. I was unimportant, unwanted, and irritating. And that's just the academics. What are the students saying? So when we think about complaints, British people are more likely to complain versus our EU counterparts. It's in our culture to expect politeness. We have high standards around not being rude to people. And so that raises our expectations. When we are customers, we kind of can get this almost little bit, maybe it's just me, princess complex. And when we're paying fees, and big fees, that princess complex is magnified. 166 million complaints per year, formal complaints in the UK. 20% of those say they would air those complaints online. And most causes of complaints are customer service, which is really easy to fix. So what's your customer service culture? Quick conversation on your tables. You can work in small groups, pairs, threes. It's entirely up to you. But I'd like to know, who are your customers? What do they need and want? And what are you doing with them to make sure you're proactively supporting them? What customer training awards, different things are you doing to focus your staff on customer service? So you've got 3 to 4 minutes on your tables to discuss that. I think Kath's around somewhere, and again we'll get your thoughts and contributions, particularly on how do you ensure your teams proactively serve customers? Proactivity is one of the golden rules of customer experience. If we can anticipate customers' needs and meet them before they even know that they've got a need, then we are in the highest echelons of customer experience. We're seeing that happen now, particularly in the hospitality industry. It's one of the key goals of 5-star hotels to anticipate customer needs. If you've been to the beach and it's been a hot day, and as you are collected from the airport or whatever, there are bottles of water for you in the boot of the car. You know, it's just thinking things through before they've happened yet and being ready for those eventualities. So Kath, have you got a microphone, and anyone got some examples of proactivity in their services? Over there.
Sandra Gillen from Keele University. There was a problem going back about February time, and again at April, with a project called Turnitin. And I'm sure other people have faced it. We had a number of students stood at our service desk at the point where Turnitin went down. We tweeted at that moment, and all our tweets go on our front page of our VLE. And we had 25 complaints following that, which I think is pretty damn good, considering there was about 6,000 essays due in on that day.
Okay.
So I think that was pretty good.
So the proactivity in the tweet said, what did the tweet say?
Just basically, we know there's a problem, you know, it isn't our problem. Have a look what Turnitin are trying to do about this.
Okay.
And we're working to find you an alternative method to get this essay handed in. So,
okay.
And we followed it up with tweets throughout the day.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. The idea of proactively keeping customers informed is one of the simplest ways to raise that customer experience, and especially when things are bad. I don't know, is anyone an O2 customer? Anyone experienced the service outage in 2012 of O2? That was one of the best examples of how to turn negative sentiment around in that way we've ever seen. And the way in which they did it was through their use of updates, but it's also the language, the humour, that human element to the communications is so important. You know, this is 2014. We don't need stuffy, I apologise for the inconvenience. We're aware of the issue and we're sorting it out. We want much kind of more personalised responses. Carolyn, I know your assignment is due in. Believe me, you're not going to get penalised as a result of this. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear something that's specific to me in my world. And the thing about O2 is even when people were trying to really bring them down, so somebody tweeted a picture of a carrier pigeon at them and said, would you like, you know, would this help? And they said, how much for the bird? And it's that engagement that we need when we're dealing with customers in the 21st century. Any other examples of proactivity? One more, thank you.
Yeah, Scott Knox, University of the West of Scotland. We have obviously classroom teaching. First thing in the morning is obviously a big thing, and we've got a lot of academic staff that don't know how to use a projector, switch on a computer. So we've just started sending our staff along the busy corridors first thing in the morning, popping their heads in the door to say, everything all right? Generates calls, fixes things on the spot rather than them having to phone us. So.
Yeah, no, that sounds really cool. Good example of proactivity. And I know as an external provider coming into work in universities, I can feel the difference from the minute I arrive on a campus as to how much they're going to be focused on me as an external, treating me like a customer. Because at the end of the day, I'm delivering something for their staff, and that is an impact on the experience. Some places I turn up, the room's locked, no one knows where the key is, the projector doesn't have a bulb in it, and there's no flip chart or flip chart paper. And then other places I turn up, there's a named space for me in the car park. Somebody greets me, somebody walks me to where I need to be. My slides are preloaded. It's just a different world. And that doesn't cost a lot. It's a little bit of resource, but it's mostly mindset of thinking things through and getting on the front foot. Anyone from Sheffield Hallam? Woo! This is a really great thing you guys have got going on here. I don't know if anyone else does this. Open nominations online for customer service awards for support staff. Any other places do that? Hands up. Fantastic. 3. So we might want to think about how we could use more opportunities like this to encourage proactive customer service behaviour in our staff. How are we role modelling that? How are we encouraging and rewarding that? So I'm sure you can go and have a look at that on their website. It's great stuff. So what is your customer satisfaction? How are you measuring it? What's the data out there from your programme surveys, service reviews, scorecards, SLAs, OLAs? Have you got OLAs going on between different services and faculties, not just for IT? Whoa, can of worms. Yeah? But otherwise, how do we know what to expect? And this is where internal comms, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Yammer, whatever it is, but some way of talking to one another that isn't email. Email is kind of like the opposite of great customer experience and managing customer expectations. Customer improvement panels, whether we're doing whether we've got strategic direction, decisions being made at the top level about customer experience and specifically about empowerment. You should never get blamed for doing something like that Peppa Pig story. We need to free and liberate our staff to make decisions and to act in the best interests of the customer. We do need to think about budget and what's the budget allocation for some of that stuff. And we need to think about how engaged are our employees. Does anyone watch the call centre? Yeah, I've got some friends working there, so I get the inside spin on that. And actually, there's a lot of it I disagree with. But one thing I do agree with is happy people sell. Happy people sell, and happy people give great customer service. If your staff are not engaged, they will not give great service. They just can't. They haven't got that thinking going on. They haven't got that motivation, that will, that desire. They haven't got the bubbly energy, the positive attitude. So sometimes we have to go back to basics and look at that. Because if your teams have been battered with change and restructures and budget cuts and negative messages, now's the time for us to think, how can we draw a line and how do we start to move forward? How many people find PC failure more stressful than being left by a partner? Any guesses? Quite a lot. 12%. 12% of people find PC failure more stressful than being left by a partner. I'll tell you. Source, Fujitsu. Percentage, how many find it more stressful than missing their flight for going on holiday? 10% of people find that blue screen of death more stressful than missing their flight on holiday. More stressful than spending a weekend with a partner's parents, because that's pretty stressful. 68%. How many waste over 30 minutes a day on slow and unreliable technology? 33%. And how many say their work suffers from not getting IT problems resolved fast enough? Yeah, 60%. Oh dear, where is the rational brain in some of that? There is a link between the more emotionally involved we are with the situation, the less rational we become. And when people care about their assignment, when they're thinking, you know, my future life hangs in the balance and now I've lost it, and good old Exeter are giving 24-hour IT support and I can communicate with them over Twitter, that helps massively. So the more emotionally involved with something we are, the less rational we become. So, just to finish, 7 principles for difficult conversations. And these are things that you can take away, share with your teams. First of all, we need them to be open to the situation, not defensive. Wasn't me you spoke to. I don't care. You are the university, as far as I'm concerned. So not defensive. Listen and acknowledge. Sounds really simple. But a lot of the conversations that I've sort of stood back and been a fly on the wall, they're already thinking about their defensive response, their explanation, their excuse, rather than genuinely tuning in and listening. Knowing when to apologise, because that costs nothing. That's a lot of the time what customers say they really wanted was just an apology. But it wasn't my fault, Carolyn. Why should I apologise? You should apologise because it takes the heat out of the situation. And it's the nice, polite thing to do. Identify the facts. So of course some customers, power to the people, they egg it up a bit. We do need to take some of that emotion out and focus on the actual truths, the actual facts. That desensitizes some of it. It helps us to focus on the solution so that we can think positively about how we fix it, rather than getting embroiled in finger pointing and blaming. So think about that solution. There's either got to be a solution, an alternative, or some compensation. And if your processes don't allow for those things, it's time to rethink the processes. We need to offer choice to our customers. People don't like being told what's going to happen to them when they've got a princess complex. So they need to have, even if it's a Hobson's choice, 2 choices at least. Would you like me to call you Carolyn or Mrs. Blunt? That's nicer than, can I call you Carolyn? No, you can't. Because then we've got no rapport. And end the conversation on a positive. And at that point, I see lots of people going, they've done all great work and they've followed all the other steps, and then they get to the end and go, sorry again that happened. So when we do Net Promoter and we say, okay, what was the final taste in your mouth? Would you recommend this organisation to your friends and family? They go, no, probably not. Because we've left them with that memory that it wasn't good. So we always want to end it on a positive. 3 customer service mistakes just as a benchmark for you. It's not my job to sort this out. That's the lack of ownership problem. I'm too busy to deal with this. That's a lack of empathy. I don't know the answer, so I can't help. That's a lack of effort. So between those 3 areas, it might be worth going back to your teams or thinking back how you can use this in your organisation and just kind of benchmarking, are people taking ownership? Are they demonstrating empathy? Are they seeing the benefit of putting effort into customer experience? Because we are all in customer service now. Thank you very much.